getting your own story. I was very shocked by this, profoundly shocked. And that's why my first question to you, Jurri, was how much did you know about me before you wrote this? It caught me off guard, and it was quite a fun adventure. I'm really loving it, and I'll be watching it again. I'm so excited about my new freedom and my new liberty and all the affirmations that you spoke to my life. I'm usually the encouraging person in people's lives. This has been a huge encouragement to me, Jurri. You clearly have a gift of hearing from the Lord, and I affirm that, and I can tell everybody that you and I have not exchanged any biographical information about each other before this, which affirms a really super unique gifting that you have, and I applaud you, and I'm excited about seeing it blossom further.
It's a life-altering, encouraging word that will change your life forever if you apply it, and it's totally worth the investment to do it. Don't hesitate. Don't wonder, is this right for me? Is this the right time for me? Just do it now, because you need the encouragement now. Don't wait.
And as far as the podcast goes and becoming a legend, I encourage everyone to really just pray and talk to God about it. And if you feel led to get or to sign up to get one, I strongly encourage it, because not only did this edify what God is doing in my life, but it also gave me the ability to share what he's done in my life with you guys, so that if any of you needed to hear specific things that were said by either the story or by the guest, that it really allows people to hear that, and it really allows them to get your story on top of the story that you wrote with us.
Brilliantly said. Thank you, John.
I would just recommend it to get a story, because it's the most unique thing I've heard of, but it is so anointed. So I would do it for two reasons. One is because it's anointed and you're hearing from God, and that in itself is a beautiful thing, to have God use somebody else to tell you something about yourself. So I would do it for that. And I also would do it to spur another person's passion to help sow into what you're doing, because we need people like you who are pioneers, who are boundary pushers, who want to pursue something not everyone's pursuing. We want to give you encouragement, and we want to love on you, and that's one way we can do it, since we don't get to see you in person.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
This was such an amazing experience, honestly, and I am so grateful that literally the Lord has given you this gift, because it really is powerful and impacting for me tonight. And I'm sure by just me hearing you just read my story to me, it was so touching, and it's what I needed to hear for this week. And I know a lot of people felt that way if they've come on your show, so I definitely thank you so much for your work, and definitely just keep staying in this field. It is a true blessing. Thank you.
Wow, man, Lacey, thank you for saying that. And hello, and welcome to the Legends the Wind podcast. I'm Jurri Schenck. Thank you for joining us tonight. It is such a pleasure to have you here. I am super excited about tonight's guest and her story. Her name is Pamela Harden, and her story is titled Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. And it's not necessarily what you think, but it's going to be quite a thriller, I think. And I just want to welcome you to our show. Thank you so much for supporting us, for participating in the chat. If you haven't done so already, would you please hit the subscribe button, punch that like button, and share this sucker out onto your social media. If you do that for us, you get us more visibility and more eyeballs on us, and we are able to grow and prosper in this place. So if you don't mind, please do those things and be part of the show. And also, just so everybody knows about what we're doing here, I create prophetic stories. Now, for those of you who are new or may not understand this, prophetic storytelling is not the same thing as prophetic words. If you look at the picture behind me with this painting, this is a piece of art. My wife designed this and she painted it. And it's a prophetic painting that goes with some of our stories. And so a prophetic word is something that you receive in a place of ministry at a church setting. But a prophetic piece of art, whether it be a painting or a story like what we do here, it's a piece of art that is commissioned, and it takes a lot of skill and talent in it. It still uses the anointing, but we're combining the prophetic with the arts. So it's a different kind of expression of the prophetic. And what goes into the price of doing that kind of work? Well, you have to take into account the time it takes for this to be done. For this show, for one story, takes 3 hours for me to do this work. 2 hours of preparatory work and an hour for the show. You also have to factor in the size of a painting or the length of a story, and also the materials needed to make it. So that kind of goes into making a prophetic story and doing this show. And I hope you understand that, and I pray that you support us. Thank you very much. All right, so our guest is Pamela Harden, and we're going to bring her on right now. Pamela, hello.
Hi, everybody.
How are you, Pamela?
I'm doing great, Jurri. Thank you so much for having me.
You know what? Thank you for showing up and being on the show. It is so encouraging to see you here. I know that what you're doing is an incredible leap of faith and sacrifice, and I honor that and I celebrate you for that. So you're in a safe place. And of course, you've known me, I don't know, 15 years now? So yeah. And just so everybody in the audience knows that most of the people I write prophetic stories for, I do not know. Many of them I meet the first 15, 20 minutes prior to the show for the very first time. They never send me biographical information. I never interview them. I never research them. But in this case with Pamela, Pamela is a dear friend to our family. Her and her husband, Andre, have been great supporters of us. So I do know her on some level. However, what I do when I have to, in this situation, when someone requests a prophetic story, I take what I know about them and I set it aside and I go and look and I go and see what the stories are for them in the library of heaven. Okay? So Pamela, please tell us about yourself and let the people know who you are.
Okay, I'm Pamela Harden, and I am married to Andre Harden. We have been married for over 30 years. We've been in the ministry, I want to say about, he might get mad at me if I fudge this, but I think it's 27, maybe, I know it's over 25 years in the ministry, Talon Ministries. And let's see what else. Oh, I do want to say this one thing. I'm very particular about who gives me prophetic words. I don't want to say, okay, let me say this in a positive way. I trust Jurri. I've heard him give many, many stories to people, and I know that I am safe with him, and I know that I can trust him, and I know he hears from God. So I'm excited to see what the story is about.
Cool. Wow, Pamela, thank you so much. That's a treasure. Thank you very much. All right, so your story, I want you to know, Pamela, and also for our audience, that prophetic stories, again, are not prophetic words. They're like dreams, and you interpret them with dream language methods. And these stories are not meant to be understood literally. They're meant to be understood symbolically. So the story is a creative revelation, and then afterward, we have a conversation, and that means that we get to find the interpretation of your story, and then hopefully we can discover the application for you as well. And also, guys, you in the chat, you who are watching, please chime in the chat, ask questions, make comments, say something encouraging, whatever you want to add. You're part of the conversation, because who knows, you may have added revelation beyond what I can do, or Pamela, if that makes any sense. Okay? And Pamela, just so you know, you have power. you have a choice. You can say, yes, I accept this prophetic word or story, or no, I do not accept it. Or you may need time to process it, and parts of it may resonate and others may not. So I hope that you understand that, and that this is a time to encourage you and strengthen you. Okay?
Okay,
All right, cool. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Do you know my question that I ask at this point? Do you know what time it is?
Story time.
It's story time. Very good. Yes. Okay, so Pamela, your story is a little bit longer than others, mainly because it's full of fun. And I want you to sit back, take a listen, and everybody in the audience enjoy. Oh, by the way, Andre says cool, and Jen Schumann has a great smiley emoticon. So guys, thanks for watching tonight. Thank you for your comments in the chat. So here we go.
All right.
Diamonds are a girl's best friend. The power of a woman's dream can be incredible, especially for Pamela when she broke into the magnificent museum. The Queen's crown jewel was on full display as it visited the place. Pamela desperately wanted to see it for herself. This multifaceted stone was one of a kind, and there was a long line for those who wanted to pay to gaze at its beauty. Tonight, however, Pamela was late, and the doors closed at the museum. She was on vacation in Paris, France. She spent all day at the Eiffel Tower and thoroughly enjoyed eating the delicious French cuisine. There were distractions everywhere, from the loud music, the mimes performing, the thick traffic of tourists, and even the crying babies. Life for Pamela seemed chaotic. Her passion for fashion alarmed her as she saw all the different ways the people dressed. But when she learned about the Queen's crown jewel at the Louvre, she decided she must see it. Andre drove as fast as he could through the side streets. Pamela kept hitting him over the head and shoulder, crying out, "Move faster! Go that way! Watch out!" Her urgency was too much for him, but fear not, this is her story. The sun had set, and the museum doors were locked shut. The staff turned people away, and Pamela was heartbroken. She lost her chance. What could she do? The exterior of the museum grew quiet, and the tourists were gone. Andre told Pamela that she should stay here and sit on the steps while he went and get them some dinner. Pamela agreed. Since the museum steps were up high, Pamela could view the city's skyline. The little sparkles of light everywhere were gorgeous. Beams of rays shone into the sky, and the faint stars came out and they twinkled. Pamela took in a deep breath and inhaled the fresh summer air. She cherished this moment to be alone and away from the drama and life's toils. However, Pamela heard some strange noises of metal scraping and pieces falling to the ground. Pamela turned around and looked up at the stone and steel building with its large dark windows. She saw someone on the edge of the roof moving quietly and quickly in a run across the way with a duffel bag in hand. "Oh my," whispered Pamela, "who is that?" She stood to her feet and watched the person come to the corner of the building's roof and disappear. Pamela ran up the steps and looked through the dark doorway. Inside, she saw there were various skylights, and the person in a black skin-tight suit used some tools to open the ceiling's portals. Pamela asked herself, what in the world is he doing? Maybe he's going to climb down the window on a rope. Pamela knew she should call the police, but she was too excited to see this break-in action live and right in front of her. Ooh, I can't wait to see this," Pamela said under her breath. She pulled out her phone and started to video record the crime in action. The burglar swung open the skylight window pane and lowered a small drone in the upper space of the building. In a moment, the rotor spun incredibly fast and silent, and the burglar let go as he controlled the device with a remote. The drone buzzed quietly through the museum, making its way around various columns and twists and turns. Pamela watched the entire process. "What is he doing?" asked Pamela. The drone zipped past tall hanging banners and came to hover over the top of the Queen's jewel display. Pamela could barely see, so she ran to another window on the side of the building. It was a much better view. The drone shot out a laser and cut the glass into the case. Next, the drone moved around and lowered a small mechanical claw. It scooped up the Queen's jewel. Pamela freaked out. "He's got the jewel! He's got the jewel!" that little booger. The drone flew fast up into the ceiling and returned into the skylight. It surprised Pamela that the alarms never gone off. Pamela returned to her original position and saw the burglar pocket the drone and the Queen's jewel. He ran back across the edge of the roof in the same direction he came from. Pamela decided and said with a growl, "This little mama's gotta give a spanking." The tourist-turned competitor charged down the side of the building and followed the burglar along the roof. Both ran in silence. The burglar didn't know Pamela was on the case. Pamela turned a corner and found a black van with its engine running down on an alley. The thief climbed down a fire escape ladder and hopped onto a dumpster onto his way to the van. The thief came to the driver's door, and just when he reached for the handle, Pamela kicked the door open and knocked the thief to the ground. She beat him to the punch. "You shouldn't work alone, ya punk." Pamela stepped out of the van and looked the man over. He was young, in his 20s, out cold. Pamela grabbed his duffel bag and saw the drone had broken rotors, but there was the Queen's jewel. "Gotcha!" cried Pamela as she held up the diamond for her eyes to see. "This is so beautiful! Wow, I can't believe it!" Gunfire rang out from some snipers that hung out the side of an SUV coming her way farther down the alley. Pamela needed to think fast. She did. Pamela left the unconscious thief on the ground and stole his van. Heck, he left it running with its keys in it. Pamela floored the gas pedal and the chase began. The hunter had become the hunted. She turned the steering wheel back and forth, dodging people, chairs, other cars, etc. Over and over, she hit the van's horn, crying out, "Move it or lose it, sister!" The SUV caught up behind her, and the gunman continued to shoot. One bullet hit the back windows of the van. The glass shattered, and the pieces spread everywhere. Pamela looked through her mirrors in a panic. Pamela turned a corner and drove in rage right past Andre, who stood at a late-night bakery haggling for croissants. "You want 2 for how much? You gotta be kidding." "No, I only have American dollars." "It's not enough?" "Oh. What? You don't accept credit?" cried out Andre. The van barreled through, and Andre glimpsed Pamela in a rage. He asked himself, "Pammy? No, that couldn't be." Andre just shrugged it off, but soon the SUV blazed by, and with company. 3 police cars were in tow as well. With every effort and skill, Pamela made her way down the street. She saw incredible buildings, the view of the starry sky, and people diving out of the way. More gunfire rang out, and bullets hit her back tires, instantly flattening them. Sparks flew everywhere as the tire rubber tore off and revealed the rims. Pamela freaked out even more, and then turned the wheel so hard that the van spun around and faced the other direction toward the oncoming SUV. Pamela slammed her foot down on the gas and charged forward. The snipers shot more bullets and shattered the windshield. Pamela cried out, "Good thing I don't have to pay the deductible." She then drove straight toward the SUV. Seconds later, the game of chicken worked. The SUV peeled away, and Pamela avoided a head-on collision. But the police cars blocked the way. There were now at least 15 police officers, all aiming their guns out at Pamela. Andre and a bunch of people ran up to watch the scene. Andre said, "I wonder who is the driver." He took a bite of the croissant. Pamela was shaking in her boots and with arms raised stepped out of the van. She held up the duffel bag and called out, "I was only trying to save this." Andre's jaw dropped in shock. His bite of bread fell to the ground. "You've got to be kidding." "Pamela?" cried out the husband. Pamela couldn't hear him. She fixed her eyes on the law enforcement surrounding her. A bunch of officers ran up to her with guns drawn and placed her under arrest. I'm sorry. I was trying to help, you know. I saved the diamond." One officer retrieved the Queen's jewel and held it up for all to see. Pamela saw it and frowned with a sad face. Down at the police station, an interpreter took down Pamela's testimony. None of them believed her. They kept peppering her with question after question. "How did you do this? Who sent you? Are you working with someone else? How did you get past the security measures?" On and on they drilled into her. Pamela declared her innocence and tried to explain, but simply repeated her answers. After 30 minutes, a new set of officers came into the building in a mad rush. They had 4 men in handcuffs, all dressed in black. One officer said, "This is the SUV that was shooting at the lady in the van." To Pamela's amazement, she saw her adversary come into the station. One of the young men was the thief she knocked unconscious. Hey, that kid! He's the one who stole the jewel! Cried out Pamela. The young man was shocked and shook in fear as he saw her. No, not you again! One officer searched the young thief, and found a phone. He told the man, "Open this. Unlock your phone." "That's not mine, I swear. Open it. I told you it's not mine." Pamela patted her body and felt her pockets and cried out, "My phone is gone." Wait, that's mine. The phone is mine." Pamela jumped up and grabbed the phone, and with her Face ID, the phone unlocked. In an instant, Pamela thumbed her way and opened the video of the whole theft. "You see, I was telling the truth. I must have lost the phone when I cleaned his clock," explained Pamela. The chief of police looked at the video and then looked at Pamela and said, "You work very hard at doing it right, don't you?" Pamela looked at him and didn't say a word. The chief continued, "Many in leadership must not believe you either. Has this happened all these years?" Pamela nodded her head and then looked down in shame. The chief said, "Lift up your head. I believe in you. I am the authority in this place. You rescued a precious, priceless diamond, the Queen's jewel. You have done something no one else could do. You were in the right place at the right time. You did the right thing. None of my officers believed you, but they should have. The evidence is clear. You did not steal this jewel. He did." Pamela felt incredible relief. The chief said to his officers, "Release her. Let her go in the truth of who she is. I vindicate her today." At that moment, an officer brought in Andre, who carried a bag of croissants. "Baby, there you are." Pamela hugged Andre tight. "Baby, I know I'm your main squeeze, but that hurts." Pamela looked into her husband's eyes with tears in them and said, "Someone finally believes me." "Baby, you know I believe you," said Andre. "Not you, them." She pointed toward the chief of police and the officers. The chief walked up to both of them and declared, "We were wrong about you, madame. Sir, she truly does incredible work. You should be proud." Andre looked deep into Pamela's eyes and said, "I couldn't be prouder." She needed to hear that. That night, Pamela enjoyed the city lights of Paris with her husband. All was well in her heart. As someone who felt unseen most of her life and misunderstood or even ignored, Pamela found her vindication. Inceptio. Cool!
Oh my God, you don't even know how right you are. Oh my gosh. I'm like so crying right now, but Jurri, you are incredible. And that story was so accurate. You just don't even know how accurate.
Really? Wow. Let's hear it.
I'm trying to compose myself because I'm like, okay, so I took notes. I actually took notes.
Okay.
So I don't think there was one thing about your story that was off. Like, seriously, it was 100% just true. Just so true. Like, if I could sum up the story of my life and put it as eloquently as you, but I am no writer at all like that. But that's exactly my story. Like, hands down, almost like it. I keep saying like perfection. It was perfection,
Aww.
really. So there were a couple of, like, I know that a lot of things are, what was the word you used? Like metaphorically, like symbolic.
Symbolically, yes.
So I know most of the stories are symbolic, but there were so many actual true things that really happened that were so much like that. When I used to work at an office, we only had one car. For like 10 years I worked there, and Andre would have to drop me off at work and then come pick me up, and sometimes he'd be late picking me up, and I would go sit outside and look up at the stars. Like, that was so true when you said that. I was just like, wow. And I remember like I would pray and I would like just have like such a good time with God in those moments that I knew God felt it. You know, like I felt God, he felt me. Like I think in that moment, like those were my special times. So when you said like I would take a deep breath and embrace that moment, I did embrace those moments. And then when you were talking about my crazy driving, it's a lot of people don't know this, but in our younger years, I would have to. Andre got a job washing jets, and he started out at uh, it was used to be called Edwards Air Force Base in Lake Forest, California, El Toro, and then they transferred him to Camp Pendleton. So that would cause us to drive. We would get like literally 3:15 in the morning. We would all four of us get in the car because you can't leave your kids home alone. And so he would drive up there. We'd get him to work by 6 a.m. And then I would have to drive back, drop off the kids at school at 8, go to work at 10. I would work from 10 to 2. And then I would drive again 2 hours to go pick Andre up. And we did this every day for like, gosh, 3-4 years, I think.
Oh,
it was
wow.
a lot. And a lot of crazy things happen driving when you drive 2 hours a day, actually 4 hours a day. But Andre, like he would drive 2 hours and then I would drive the 2 hours. And so, but being in the car 4 hours a day, you get a lot of driving experience under your belt. And so you come across a lot of like haphazard accidents, the rain, things like that. And I remember one time right before Camp Pendleton, I spun out on the freeway.
Oh.
And it was but God totally like protected me and spared me. But when you were telling the story, I'm like reliving that moment. And I remember feeling like tangibly feeling God's hand on me, like his
wow.
presence protecting me in that moment. So as you're telling the story, it's totally about like a different scenario, but that memory, that moment was the same feeling of God's presence being on me, that no matter how chaotic my world is, I still felt God's hand on me and he kept me safe. And even when I wound up doing like a 360 on the freeway, didn't hit one single car.
Wow.
And they actually had to shut down the freeway so that I could make a U-turn and go back the right way.
Huh.
And I just felt God's presence. And so when you were talking in the story about the crazy driving, and I'm trying to, okay, so I'm like writing all this down as you're saying all this, and I'm like, okay, I kind of misspelled a few words. So another thing that you were talking about was my fight for injustice. I have always felt injustice when I see things that go wrong for other people, and I want to just like be like their warrior and fight for them. And I hate crime, hate it with a passion. And I have been known on some occasions to act like Wonder Woman when I get upset. And I have like this superhuman strength, and I do crazy things. And I'll spare you guys all the details, but those of you who know me and love me, oh man, this book was like, this story that you told was so right on. Okay, so my Wonder Woman, my hate of crime, driving. Okay, so the next part. I am often misunderstood a lot of times, and I mean well, and it does usually work out in my favor at the end because God always vindicates me. However, there have been plenty of times that I have caused Andre to drop his jaw. And then he was like, what? And then I would have to explain to him, and sometimes he doesn't always believe me until other people come forward and let him know that I in fact was in the right. So I definitely felt like in that story I once again felt vindicated, just because a lot of times I do get misunderstood, and that is it's a real sore spot with me because I always mean well. It just doesn't always turn out well until it turns out well. But I struggle with that a lot. So I'm just so blessed that you heard from God and you told the story in such a way that if I had to tell the story of my life, I couldn't have put it together so well. I mean, you're very excellent at what you do, and I'm so grateful. And your trust is well earned because you know
Oh,
what? You took some vulnerabilities and some insights that the Lord showed you, and you presented it in such a way that it was not offensive and it was not hurtful, but it was very sensitive and it was very like you could feel the love. I could feel your love, Jurri, and I love you so much. And I'm so
oh,
grateful to you. And
oh,
your ministry is such a blessing to me and to the others that,
thank you.
we've heard you tell stories for. And I'm just so grateful. And I don't care what the naysayers say. Man, that's a tongue twister. Um, they just I think you have to have an open heart, regardless if it's a prophetic word or a story or somebody off the street just wanting to bless you. You have to have an open heart to hear what the Lord will say. And I think that sometimes people, for whatever reason, have a hard heart and they're not open to the possibility. But if so many people are getting their stories and they want to bless you by paying you for them, it's their right to do so. And I think they should keep their mouth shut because you know what? I think you're doing a service to people who were requesting it. And I'm so grateful that you read my story. So thank you
Oh,
very much.
Pamela, thank you so much. My goodness, I'm honored, humbled. Yeah, I mean, just a couple weeks ago, I got blasted by people on social media, saying I'm a con artist and a Balaam and a false prophet and all this, and these are supposed to be Christians, right? And
Right.
you know who killed Jesus? His own people, and that's not God's love, is it? No. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, we do have some comments in the chat. Quo says, LOL, she's laughing. Andre says, preach. And says a bunch. Well, he says, wow. And what did he say? So I'm going to put this on the screen. Jurri, did you know I had chocolate croissants yesterday for breakfast? I had no idea. But you can invite me over at any time. And then he says, and Jurri, you don't know this, but I call Pamela my queen, and the room you see her in right now is her queendom. Oh, that's
Telling on
funny.
me.
And then Andre says, full stop, all caps, every sentence period. I am so proud of you, Pamela! Exclamation point. So good.
See why I love him? Do you guys see why I love him? That right there.
Yes, that's great. Wow. Wow, this is cool because, I was telling you just briefly before we got on the air, I was like, for a few days before tonight's show, I kept hearing diamonds, and I kind of get this sense of like what's the Pink Panther stories? The burglary. So I kind of got the museum in my eyes with imagination are seeing it. So then I'm like, what is the title? I was wrestling that for 3 days, and then I hear, diamonds are a girl's best friend. So then I went and I looked at the clip on YouTube of Marilyn Monroe singing in the movie, and I thought, well, that's interesting. Okay, but I don't know what a story would be. And so finally it came late at night last night. I'm like, okay, here I go. And so I write down on the computer, diamonds are a girl's best friend, and it just flowed. And that's typically how it happens. And I had no idea what was going to happen. I don't know the ending. I don't know what's going on and why. It literally, all the twists and turns happen as I'm watching it. Go ahead. You had something to say. What is it?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so when you were sharing that about the Pink Panther, let me just tell you, I used to love Pink Panther movies when I was younger.
Okay.
And So I didn't even register that until you said that right now. But okay, that's another reason why I think God had you go that way. And then another thing is, a lot of people don't know this, but I used to be a Madonna wannabe when I was 16. I know. I know. Just,
Are you
yeah.
a material girl?
Yes, and I was so fascinated
Oh,
with
wow.
her portraying the Marilyn Monroe thing
Right.
with the pink dress, because I'm as you can tell, I love pink. And so when she came out with the pink and the diamonds, and I do have a lot of diamond things throughout my little office here. Matter of fact, here's like a couple right here, just like loose little diamonds, just sitting randomly
That's
on my
funny.
dresser. Yeah, I
Oh.
love diamonds. I love pink, and Pink Panther. And then you were talking about the it's so funny because the Marilyn Monroe thing with the Madonna,
Yeah.
it all bears witness to me, and it's just a confirmation that you are very good at what you do, and I thank God for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I mean, I just go and look, and if you've seen all my shows on all the stories, every single story is different. Every person's different. And even if someone were to get a second story, which is possible, that story's different. And it's just, it's fascinating to me to go find out what it is. And, as I've said this countless times on other shows, it's scary for me, every time. And I'm a little comforted because I have a friendship with you. But I also, I didn't know any of these things about you until today. But for me, especially with people who I never know, oh my God, it's nerve-wracking for me. And so it's like I have to keep calm. And so, but I also have to remember that God's given me a track record. Thank God, right? And, fortunately, by God's grace, I haven't bombed. Now, back in the summer last year, I thought I really bombed on air. The lady did not like it and reacted badly. But I figured out why in the middle of the live show, and she was taking it literally. And that's why now I give a little teaching that it's a symbolic story and that you have to interpret it. And ever since then, it's been smooth sailing with the guest, which is great. So we have some comments. Andre again. I don't know why he's commenting so much. Does he know you? He says, you should have stuck with the Pink Panther, LOL. Gail, my mom, says, Pamela, you are sparkling. Congrats. And my friend Deanne Tremarkey, I think you know Deanne.
Yeah, my friend, yes.
She says, you look fabulous in pink, Pamela. Cool. Yes, this is great. Right. So we've got 13 people in the chat, in viewing right now. We've got 5 thumbs up. Would you guys, if you haven't given a thumbs up already, would you mind hitting the thumbs up button and please share this out right now while it's live? If you do those things, it switches things on in the YouTube algorithm and it gives us more visibility. So if you don't mind, please do so. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe as well and hit the notification bell. So Pamela, what else in your story got you excited?
You know what? Everything. I mean, from the first word to the very last. I mean, it just, everything was just such a blessing. I think honestly the best word for me, the word of the day, is vindication. Because a lot of times I am misunderstood, for real. And a lot of times it's not always vindicated by the people that, like the people that accused me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always get vindicated by them. I may get vindicated by the authorities, but maybe not, by everyone who witnessed what happened. So a lot of times I felt like I wish I could go back and like be the voice that explains it. And sometimes God tells me, it's not up to me to do that. It's to me to let him handle it. And, just in your book, it ministered to me to let me know that he is going to vindicate me. He always does. And to actually see Andre back me up and support me and eat his croissant I mean, it was just such a blessing. Like, seriously, he just ate his croissant yesterday, so that's hilarious. So hilarious.
That's great.
It's right on.
I
Yes.
want to highlight a few sentences the chief said. Many people in leadership must not believe you either. And then he said to the woman ago, you work very hard at doing it right, don't you? And then he said to you, lift up your head. I believe in you. I am the authority in this place. You rescued a precious, priceless diamond, the queen's jewel. You have done something no one else could do. You were in the right place at the right time. You did the right thing. None of my officers believed you, but they should have. The evidence is clear. You did not steal this jewel. He did. And then he says, release her. Let her go in the truth of who she is. So, in your realm of the calling of your career, you and Andre, have any officers been in those areas?
Yeah.
Yeah. But isn't it great that the chief signs off on you, you know?
Okay.
What?
I don't know. I'm trying to decide if I should share this story or not. Okay, I
It
think
is
I
up
will.
to you.
Okay, I think I will, because you know what? It actually like proves the point. So, okay. So in my younger years, I had a traffic ticket that turned into a warrant. And
Oh,
I
wow.
forgot about it because I don't normally drive. My husband used to do a lot of the driving. And so at the time where I was working at that office job that I told you that sometimes I sit on the outside step, well, this particular job, somebody in my office didn't like me, so they called the police on me and had me arrested.
Oh.
And the cop felt so bad. He said to me on the way over to the jail, yes, they actually did arrest me and take me to the jail. And he said, if I would have pulled you over and saw that you had this outstanding warrant, we would have just given you a fix-it ticket and told you to come in and clear it up. We wouldn't have even had you arrested. But because they called it in, we have to take you in. So he took me in, but he even felt bad for doing it. And then as it turned out, the way that, God orchestrates, sometimes it may not always, like what the enemy meant for evil, God turns it around for good. And that particular weekend, just to make a long story short, I'm totally condensing this, but we were supposed to minister in Louisiana, and my boss had told me no, I couldn't go with my husband. And like I couldn't take the time off. And so I had really prayed, and I knew God wanted me to go. And as it turned out, I got arrested like the day before all this was supposed to transpire. And so I got bailed out. I was able to get out of jail and go with my husband, because my boss just assumed I had to wait for the week, because this happened like on a Friday. And so I wasn't going to be arraigned until Monday. So I was like, let's just go and we'll come back by Monday. And then by the time my court date did come, the judge actually waived all of my charges and everything, considered it all time served. God like expunged my record and everything. And then plus two, my boss felt so bad. He still paid me for the time that I had missed, and then gave me a raise because I came back, even despite the persecution. And then the best part about it was right around St. Patrick's Day, and the police officer who had to bring me in, he told me exactly what cell phone was used to make the call. And it was a company phone, and exactly what time it came in. And since I was the office manager, I got all the phone bills. So I looked, and when like a month later, which was right before Passover, Easter, I found out who made the call, and it was the person I least expected. That was the shocking part. And then the revelation was I was doing some biblical studies during my lunch break, and I came across the scripture where Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss. And it's the person that you least suspect for a reason. And then the Lord showed me, he like gave me this revelation that if I can even forgive someone who betrayed me with a kiss, can't you can't you forgive your coworker who betrayed you? So that was just a real lesson. And then it says in the Bible that Jesus confronted him. And so I confronted her in a way, it wasn't like abrasive or harsh, it was in love.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, I know it was you who, called the police on me." And she kind of panicked, and she took off like right away. She left work, and her son both work there. And I decided right then I was going to pray for her, that God would bless her and protect her. And you know how the Bible says to pray for those that persecute you and come against you. So I prayed with her. They did have a car accident that very night. The
Oh,
car
no.
the car flipped over,
Mm.
but God spared them both. One of them was a little injured. I don't think he broke his arm, but he like sprained it or something, but no serious damage to either one of them. And that was when the Lord showed me, it's so important to pray for those that come against you, because, anything could have happened. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad nothing serious happened to them. But it all worked out to the glory of God.
Mm-hmm.
The whole situation, my charges were dismissed. I got a raise. I got paid for the time that I had to take off. I was able to minister with Andre, and it just all worked out. So
Wow.
that thank you so much for the story. It just really resonated with me, really did.
Oh, you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. Wow, thank you for sharing. Thank you. That is a crazy story of attack and vindication in the end. That's beautiful, and some of it echoes with your prophetic story for tonight. That's beautiful.
It
Wow.
really is.
So let me ask you a couple questions. So
Sure.
you said that you've seen other people on the show, right?
Yes.
What kind of feedback in general can you give to people who have never dove into other content? Like, what have you seen? How are the stories working for the guests? If you know the guests, maybe, but kind of paint the picture for someone who's new, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, I know first I had one of my very best friends get her story done. And to see her cry, and like she was so moved, and because I know her so well, like everything about the story was so accurate, and it ministered to her. And I think that's what's so important is, so many times we kind of go around wanting prophetic words, and it's sometimes just the story reminds us of how good God is, and it's you can feel God's presence. And so it works differently than a prophetic word, but it's still God's love resonating,
Mm-hmm.
And then another sister that had hers done, I saw her just in, like, I don't know if I can recall correctly if anyone that I've ever watched not cry, but I think you have a really good track record of making people cry.
Okay.
Like, just touching their heart. I think, that's the thing about a good book. When you read a really good book, you do cry. You do feel it. You do get involved in the story. And I think that's why it resonates so much with people.
Mm.
It's, I don't know how to express it very well, but it touches the heart so
Mm.
much that your eyes cry.
Well, thank you. I don't purposely try to make people cry. In fact, when I'm writing the story and getting the download, I don't know what does or doesn't make people cry. I'm literally like watching a movie in my imagination, and so I'm just faithful to write it down and to document it. But it's always surprising to me when people get emotional. And obviously some of the joke dialogue in here, because I know you well enough to know how you talk, but I can hear you in the story. But I'm not a manipulative person, is what I'm trying to say. But I like.
No, I don't get that impression at all.
Yeah,
At all.
thank you.
You were 100% sincere, and I think if people stop to listen just for a minute, they can really pick up on your sincerity.
No, thank
And
you.
like I said, if their heart is open to God, they'll be open to hear the sincerity.
Yeah.
There's no malice, there's no misrepresentation. I mean, it's 100% pure. It's it's in love, and
Yeah.
that's the way it should be. We should edify, exhort, and comfort one another. And it doesn't always have to be a prophetic word to do that.
Right.
And
Thank you.
I think your ministry is beautiful, Jurri.
Thank you.
I really do.
Thank you. I think about Jesus telling parables, and it's so funny because I don't know anyone else at all that's doing what we do here. No one. I mean, if there is someone out there, I would love to meet them. I would love to collaborate. I would love to knit arm in arm. Why is that that's a problem? If hardly anybody understands the power of prophetic parables, Jesus did this, right? And
Yes.
and well, it's like I have a saying. It's like if I were to speak at a conference or something, I would say, everybody, if you raise your hand, if you've heard a story about someone who's offended and left the church. And everybody raises their hand. All right, now lower your hand. Now I'll ask another question. Raise your hand if you've heard of someone who's left the church because they were offended because the speaker was telling stories that didn't make any sense or had riddles and things like that. And no one raises their hand. Why? Almost no one is doing this. Now, I'm not trying to make myself an elitist. I don't have that. What I want is more of this. I want people to understand stories more in the realm of the prophetic. I am almost, I'm hoping by the end of the month, I'm almost done with my first draft of my teaching book.
Good.
It's titled, How to Find Treasure in Your Story, A Guide to Prophetic Parables. So the book starts off with more of an autobiographical approach where I kind of give my background and all the crap I went through and all the pain I went through. And then I met Alisha and started doing the stories and went to film school and had encounters with God. And my eyes and ears opened up. And then I transitioned into the importance of story. And I talk about C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien and Madeleine L'Engle. But
Right.
I tell everybody at the beginning of the book what they're in for. The book is not just about understanding prophetic parables. It's about ascension to the heavenly places and how the parables, the stories, are anchors or gateways of an encounter, an experience with God that allows them to transition into, you don't have to wait until you die to go to heaven. You're there now, and so you can just use your imagination. I talk about the imagination, why that's important, why God gave us the imagination. And then I lay out what it's like to pioneer heaven. What's it like to be an explorer of heaven? And I go into how that works, and then I show Daniel, how Daniel is a model in the Bible for us in that sense. And then I wrap it up with a closing of a story. And I have to figure out the final chapter. That's my biggest struggle. So I've been working on this. And so my publisher's given me the thumbs up on the concept. So when that comes, I'll let you know about it.
Oh, please do. I'm so excited for you. We'll also be praying for you that,
Thank you.
that it'll come. Amen.
Thank you very much. Wow. We are about 53 minutes in. Anybody in the chat still there? Do you have any other comments or questions? Come on, let's put Pamela on the spot. Or how about me? How about that, right? Deanne, are you still there? Oh, Patricia. Patricia Ariano, is that how you say it? She gives us a good thumbs up. I don't know who she is, but she is giving us a thumbs up. Cool. Thank you very much. Wow. Pamela.
Yes.
Wouldn't Andre need a story?
Probably.
We might have to gift him one. How about that? Andre, if you're still there, thank you so much for your undying support, along with Pamela, for everything that we've been through together as friends and in this show, in this podcast. I mean, good Lord. You guys have been such great friends over the years. I remember first meeting you guys at USC in the classroom, and I'm blown away by your advocacy for us, both of you. So thank you. So it's just a blessing. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Jurri.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Andre says, great session. Deanne says, Andre says, you had me at croissants. Deanne's still there. She says, no other comment except being accused of things I didn't do and God vindicating me. I'm glad you shared. Cool.
Thank
Very
you.
cool. Well, and Mike's here. Mike Smith says, I joined late, but from what I heard, it sounded like a great story. Jurri is amazing at what he does. Mike, thank you very much. Mike gave him a story last summer. He's here locally, here in Thermopolis. And Mike has always been a faithful supporter of the show. So thank you, Mike, very much. I appreciate it. Well, we're kind of winding down. So for those of you who are watching, even on the replay, if you understand that this is not a prophetic word, it is a prophetic story. It is a created, commissioned work of art. It's like a portrait of you, but in a story form, combining the gifting of the prophetic and the arts. If you've seen Pamel'as impact, the story's impact on Pamela, you've seen what she said. If you want to have your own prophetic story, click the link in the description below, or go to legendsofthewind.com and go to our store and look for the product called Become a Legend. What happened here tonight is Pamela has become a legend. It doesn't mean she's super famous. Legends serve a function. Legends, oh, you are famous. Okay, I'm sorry. Legends are on a map. They have a function. They tell you what things are and where you are on the map and the direction you're going on your journey and your destiny. And these stories, as a prophetic parable, have hidden treasures for you to discover who you are and where you're going in life. And that is the purpose of what we do here. So if you want to get a prophetic story, don't hesitate. Order now. We'd be happy to book you on the show. And by the way, if you do want a story, but do not want to appear on the program, we are able to work with you on that. That's not a problem. In the past few months, we've had, I think, 3 or 4 people that ordered a story that did not appear, but I read to them over the phone or I emailed them, and everybody has been really encouraged. So thank you. Mike says, you're welcome. Gail says, I am praying that Christians will act like Christians toward all, especially each other. Wouldn't that be refreshing? Thank you very much. Yes, Pamela.
Yes. So I just wanted to say one thing. Instead of just wanting people to purchase a book for themselves, if God has made you a giver and you want to bless somebody that could not afford to get this done, please impart this into somebody's life, because this will speak volumes to that. I think this would be a great outreaching tool to somebody who is not saved, who just needs to, know that God loves them. And I think this would be a great opportunity for you to bless somebody that's not saved with a book. We all know somebody who's not saved. I know for me, I'm thinking about getting this book for somebody that I know very dearly. And I, want to just, let people know it is a option. You can purchase it for somebody else.
Oh, yes, thank you. And just to clarify, the physical book cover of Alisha's art is temporarily on hold because she's already overwhelmed with projects for her art. So, but the thing is, later on, it is possible later to order a prophetic art painting, a book cover of your story. So just so you know, and by the way, that is a separate purchase. When someone purchases a prophetic story from me, I spend 2 hours preparing it, and then I do an hour for the show, and then after the show I email the guest a PDF of their story, and that's what goes into that particular product, if that makes sense. But the book cover of Alisha's paintings is a separate thing. But right now she's a little overwhelmed with projects, so I know that later it will be possible. So if you do get a story now, it is potentially possible later to order a painting. Okay. And by the way, some of the art, like the painting behind me, is Alisha's. I'll move out of the way so people can see. It's called The Wisdom of the Trees. And then also our book cover she did. This is the story, The Fire Bear. Oh, by the way, if you want to get this book, you can get it on Amazon. It's volume 1, and it's got 20 prophetic stories in it. And you can also get it at our website as well. And by the way, you should check out the audiobook. I spent months making the audiobook because it's not just me reading the story. It's got music. It's got sound effects and design. It's a whole theater of the mind, an immersive experience, and it will suck you into your imagination. So check it out on Amazon and Audible. So I worked very hard on it, and I'm waiting for it to get more well known. So I'm very proud of that production. So thank you. Well, Pamela, it looks like we've wrapped it up. Do you have any final thoughts in any way?
Just thank you, and I'm so grateful. And you were very accurate, and I appreciate your commitment to authenticity and accuracy. And
thank you.
You can totally see God's love going through you
Wow.
on these stories. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Well, everybody, it's an hour into the show. Thank you so much for joining us and for watching and participating. Please remember to subscribe and also to share this out to your friends and family. Let them know about what we're doing. Let them know about the possibility of ordering a story. And we thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. And Pamela, do not hang up, okay? Don't hang up.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We appreciate you, and we'll see you soon on the next Oh, let me plug the next broadcast. Okay. Sorry, guys. This is so good. A couple weeks ago, I had on as a guest Dr. Nick Goff. He is in the prophetic ministry for the past 42 years. He was part of the renewal in the 90s. He's friends with Cheon and Lou Engle, Mark Sharona. And couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I gave him a story for the first time, and it super impacted his life down to the hour I got the download of his story. Next week, in a week from now, on Monday, Dr. Nick Goff will be back, and he's going to tell everybody from his point of view how the story hit his heart and affected his church. So don't miss that. I cannot wait for that show. So guys, all right, there you go. Have a good night. We'll see you soon. Bye, Pamela. Don't hang up.